For today's session, we will be looking at the STAR assessment data and taking a look at how the Q3 standards were assessed. We will also preview the Q3 content and take a look at Q3 lab investigations. We will discuss the importance and use of LO and SEs, and finally, we will provide some Proclamation 2024 updates and finish up with a reflection activity. As always, we would like to start with our learning objective. Our learning objective for this session states, I am learning about Q3 Grade 8 Science Curriculum. Success Criteria 1 states, I can reveal low-performing SEs from the Grade 8 2023 Science STAR. Success Criteria 2 states, I can identify instructional strategies to address misconceptions on low-performing SEs from the 2023 Grade 8 STAR. Our second learning objective for this session states, I am learning about lab safety and cleanup professional development opportunities. Success Criteria 1 states, I can explain 5 necessary components of lab safety and determine why professional development over this topic is important. Let's dive in and review the STAR 2023 data to identify the low-performing SEs. In your participant guide, you have a link to a spreadsheet titled 2023 Grade 8 Science STAR. Please feel free to pause the video to review the data spreadsheet. Within this spreadsheet, we see some data points that show the TEKS that have the largest deficits of 6 points or more between the district and the state. We see that there are 8 standards that are covered in Q3. Looking back at our LO and SEs, we just covered the first SE. I can reveal low-performing SEs from the Grade 8 Science 2023 STAR. Let's take a look at how some of the Q3 standards were assessed. As we go through these questions, take a moment to think about what makes the question challenging. What do students need to know for this question? What are some misconceptions? Please take a minute to read the question. 38% of students correctly answered this question, which is answer choice C. About 31% of students chose answer choice D. Students need to understand the sequence of events in the lunar cycle, specifically understanding the position of the Sun, Earth, and Moon, and that the Moon revolves around the Earth in a counterclockwise direction. Let's take a look at another question. 51% of students received full credit for this question. This question is one of the new question types in which students will need to drag and drop their answers. For this question, students will need to understand the axes of the HR diagram and how the x-axis goes from larger to smaller, unlike most graphs used in class. They will also need to understand the term luminosity. The next question addresses Supporting Standard 7.12d. Please take a minute to look it over. 15% of students received full credit for this question. We see again another drag and drop question. Students will need to distinguish between plant and animal cells, as well as be able to identify the cell organelles and their functions. The following question addresses Supporting Standard 7.10b. Please take a minute to read the question. 27% of students received full credit for the question. Students will need to understand the term sustainable and how to determine what makes an ecosystem sustainable. Please note that the ACP testing window begins the week of December 18th. The Quarter 3 Spring Combined End-of-Unit Assessment window is March 4th through 8th. The assessments can be found in the Week 9 Quarter 3 IPCs, which are linked in your participant guide. These assessments include multiple choice questions as well as short constructed response and drag and drop questions. We have wrapped up Success Criteria 1. Let's move into Success Criteria 2. I can identify instructional strategies to address misconceptions on low-performing SEs from the Grade 8 Science STAR. Let's take a look at the content that will be covered during quarter 3. Quarter 3 will cover Earth and space, focusing on Earth's tilt, rotation, and revolution, and the lunar cycle. It will also cover the position of the moon and the sun and its effect on Earth's tides. Students will also learn about the components of the universe and the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram, the location of the sun in the Milky Way galaxy, and the electromagnetic spectrum. Quarter 3 will also go into organisms and the environment, focusing on competition of organisms and populations for abiotic and biotic factors, short and long-term environmental effects on organisms and populations, and human dependence on ocean systems. Taking a look at lab investigations, please remember that TEA does require at least 40% of instructional time is dedicated to conducting lab and field investigations. Please note that within our curriculum documents, you will be able to find lab investigations for every lesson cycle. Here are a couple of lab investigations that you will see within those documents. Please note that we have additional digital resources that can be utilized in your Tier 1 and Tier 2 instruction. Discovery Education and BrainPop Science are both available for middle school science teachers and can be accessed through Clever. Now let's move into our second learning objective and success criteria for today's session, learning about lab safety and professional development opportunities. Please remember that if you are a new teacher or if you have moved grade bands, you must complete the Lab Safety Online Training module. This is an asynchronous training that can be found in Cornerstone and is also linked within your participant guide. In addition, on January 8th, which is district-wide PD Day, we will be hosting virtual sessions on lab cleanup training. For middle school science teachers, the times you can choose from are 8 to 9:30 a.m. or 12:30 to 2 o'clock p.m., and you can register in Cornerstone. The link is found in the participant guide. The session will be focusing on the 5 components of lab safety, which are clean and organized prep rooms, showers and eye wash stations being checked to ensure they are functional at least 1 time a month, sinks are clean, chemicals must be organized and stored properly, and equipment and chemicals are put away as soon as instruction is done for that particular lab investigation. Please note that this training does not replace the training for the mandatory asynchronous lab safety training for teachers who have not taught science before. As we are wrapping up, I do want to highlight the importance of learning objectives and success criteria. Learning objectives and success criteria really communicate the point of the lesson to the students. Students can refer back to the LOs and SEs during the lesson to make connections with prior learning. It's important for the LOs and SEs to be in large font and visible for students to revisit multiple times during the lesson. Students can constantly connect what they are doing in class with why they are learning it. You may have noticed throughout the lesson today, I was also referring back to the LOs and SEs. Again, LOs and SEs allow students to constantly connect what they are doing in class to why they are learning it. Lastly, as you may be aware, the State Board of Education has adopted its final list of instructional materials on December 1st. This list is linked in your participant guide if you would like to review it. District and campus teams are currently being formed to review, vet, and vote on the instructional materials, which will be implemented next school year when the new science TEKS are rolled out. If you have questions about the proclamation process, please contact Jeremy Harden. His contact information is listed in the participant guide. And finally, in our time together today, we do want to remind you that we do have office hours every Wednesday morning from 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. These are informal, come and go times for teachers to pop in and receive additional curriculum support. As we finish up, please take a minute to reflect and think about today. What have you learned and or experienced today that will influence your classroom instruction? Feel free to pause the video if needed. Thank you for joining us today for the quarterly content training for Science Grade 7 Honors and Grade 8 Quarter 3. Have a wonderful day.